बढ़ेंगे। पाकिस्तान दुनिया के उन ममालिक में शामिल हैं जहाँ अंग्रेज़ी ज़ुबान समझने बोलने वालों की बड़ी तादाद मौजूद है, लेकिन अभी भी बहुत कम है। जितनी होनी चाहिए उससे ज़्यादा, मतलब उससे बहुत कम है। अब जिन लोगों को आती है इंग्लिश, वो तो अपना काम चला लेते हैं, उनको ज़िंदगी में थोड़ा सा एडवांटेज भी एट टाइम्स मिल जाता है।
बाकी मुल्कों से जुड़ते हैं ना, ऑब्वियसली एक बहुत एक कैरियर होती है ज़बान। जब आप
इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग कंट्रीज़ में बेहतरीन वो काम कर सकते हैं। इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग यूनियन एक तंजीम है ऐसी ही जो दुनिया में काम करती है। पाकिस्तान में इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग यूनियन का क़याम 1961 में अमल में आया था, जिसका मकसद है पाकिस्तान में अंग्रेज़ी बोलने वाले अफराद और दूसरे ममालिक के दरमियान लोगों को दोस्त बनाना। अब सिर्फ ये दोस्ती है, अभी हम दोस्ती की बात करते हैं ना पीसीबी के मामलात में भी,
आपने इधर भी दोस्ती डाल दी है।
द स्कोप ऑफ वर्क इज लार्जर देन दिस। उसका क्या मकासद हैं, व्हाट डज इट एक्चुअली डू, ये जानने के लिए हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं माइल्स यंग, जो कि ग्लोब हैं इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग यूनियन के। Good morning, Miles.
Good morning.
It's great to have you.
Welcome to our
Very nice to be here.
Likewise. All right. So, what is the actual scope of work of ESU? We know that it has been working for decades now.
Yeah.
What has it achieved so far, and what are your plans for the future?
More than decades, because it was founded after the First World War as a reaction to the violence and the horror of the war, and it was had the aim of getting people who spoke English to communicate with each other, to meet with each other, and to develop bonds of friendship with each other. So the aim is really that, through the medium of the English language, to encourage friendship links, people-to-people links, not state-to-state links. But within that, we do an awful lot more. So one of our main objectives is to help people learn how to speak. Now, your profession is speaking, yes? But there are a lot of kids who grow up and they do not know how to speak.
You mean speak in English?
Speak in English, yes,
okay.
yes, yeah, in English, yes. And it's a kind of disability. So we talk about literacy, reading, we talk about numeracy, numbers, but oracy, the art of speaking, is not well recognized in many syllabuses around the world. So that's one of the things that we do, is to take oracy programs into schools. They can't afford to do that themselves.
Okay.
Encourage those kids to gain confidence, and we do it mainly through the medium of debate.
And we have seen many a times, even in our schools and classes, that there are children who can read perfectly, but when it comes to speaking English, they are hesitant, they are unable to speak, they are just unable to express or communicate their thoughts to the other person or the community or the people around them.
And even in England, that is exactly the same thing. So I work.
They would understand and they would read, but they cannot speak.
They don't have the confidence to express their point of view. So you can train people to do that, and you do that through debate.
All right.
Yes.
And so originally it was a kind of debating union, and debates are still an important part of what we do. So we have an international debating competition. Kids from Pakistan go to London actually to participate in the finals. And throughout that sort of tiering of debating, from schools up to regional finals, up to national finals, up to international.
All right, so we have to translate all of this conversation a bit to our audience.
A little bit, so that आप लोगों को समझ आ जाए कि ये क्या कह रहे हैं। अब ये बता रहे हैं कि ये इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग यूनियन का काम ये है, बेसिक काम ये है कि ये लोगों को जोड़ें एक दूसरे के साथ, और वो सबसे बेहतरीन कैसे हो सकता है, ज़बान। जब एक दूसरे की ज़बान समझेंगे, जिसमें इन्होंने इंग्लिश को तरजीह दी है क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली बहुत से लोग जो हैं दुनिया में वो अंग्रेज़ी बोलते हैं, तो उस तरह एक दूसरे को मिलाया जाए और ज़्यादा सीख आप बेहतर सकते हैं, बोलने का एक कॉन्फिडेंस आप में आ सकता है अगर आप डिबेट करें। तो डिबेट इज़ वन वे ऑफ गोइंग अबाउट इट।
तकरीरें जिसे हम कहते हैं, मुबाहिसा, and this is extempore and parliamentary style of debating.
I'm more interested in knowing that I can understand people if you're talking about England, and that is English is their basic language.
Yes.
So even if they are struggling to speak or to command an audience or something, that might be a problem of confidence in speaking. But here in Pakistan, English is not the first language.
No.
So they might have that confidence in Urdu or whatever their regional language might be.
Yes.
But maybe there's more to why they might not be able to communicate in English.
Well, I think it's a question of how you communicate, isn't it? And so we're not just teaching people speaking skills.
Okay.
We're teaching them how to argue, how to express a point of view,
right.
how to present themselves in public, and how to disagree, and how to disagree politely.
Oh, that's very holistic.
And not yell at each other.
Right.
So one of the things that we notice, particularly since the arrival of social media, is that people do shout a lot and they don't listen a lot. So I've always thought that we should be called the English Listening Union, because part of what we do is to teach people how to listen. But interestingly enough, our newest markets are places like Mongolia,
Okay.
Kazakhstan. They have never had any tradition of speaking English at all. But what is of interest to those kids is they're entering into some kind of global community. It's not a replacement for their national language
All
in
right.
any way whatsoever. but it's
Is there
complementary.
still a thought in these countries, or there are countries in the world who don't think that it is necessary or it is important to speak or be able to speak English?
Well, I think there's one example. Sri Lanka in the 1960s stopped English speaking in schools.
Yes.
And of any kind. And I think that was a great mistake. So it put that country back a bit, and they're having to make up now for the lost time. So it was more difficult for them to enter into the global economy. And I think that if you go around here, I can see all the signboards saying learn English, learn English, learn English. Kids want to learn English because they want to be part of a global community as well as their national community.
How long has English-speaking union been present in Pakistan?
Since I think it's been present since the 1960s, but I may stand to be corrected by my colleague. And I have to say that it's our best branch.
Tell us more about it. So what are the activities for the energy?
Your national energy.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
We understand that very well.
And your can-do spirit. That's what is all
Lovely. But what are the activities that usually take place?
Well, there are activities at different levels. So at the top level, it's networking and
very important.
people from the elite, I suppose, and then it goes down and down and down, and at the bottom it is activities in schools, because it's schools where we start.
So you go to private schools, you go to government schools.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we're doing at the moment is looking at the move from confidence to resilience, and in Pakistan we have a very interesting pilot project with the ESU and Queen Mary's College, London, which is using drama as a means of encouraging kids to express themselves and to learn confidence. And that will go into the poorest schools in the poorest parts of the country. So it's capacity building, really. The language is just the medium.
Right.
It is building people's, as you said, holistic confidence in themselves.
ये बड़ी अच्छी बात की है, वो कह रहे हैं लैंग्वेज इज जस्ट अ मीडियम, चाहे आप मतलब ज़बान तो ज़ाहिर है एक ज़रिया है अपनी बात को एक्सप्रेस करने का, लेकिन कोई भी ज़बान आप जब कोई नई ज़बान सीखने की कोशिश करते हैं जिससे आप नावाकिफ़ होते हैं, सो आप पे कॉन्फिडेंस ज़रूर आता है। और जैसे एक एक्टिविटी कर रहे हैं ड्रामा के ज़रिए, जो स्कूल के थिएटर्स होते हैं ना, जो ड्रामा होते हैं, जो हमारे ज़माने में होते थे और अभी पता नहीं बच्चों को शायद अननेसेसरी बाहर स्कूल्स को लग रहे होते हैं, आई कीप रीडिंग ऑन स्टफ, सो उससे भी बच्चों में बहुत ज़्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस आता है। सो अंग्रेज़ी ड्रामाज जो है हमने शेक्सपियर तक किए हुए हम अपने ज़माने में।
हाँ, मतलब ये सब कुछ होता है, लेकिन ऑब्वियसली ओके, वन क्वेश्चन दैट्स कमिंग टू माय माइंड, how do you become a member of the English speaking union? So
I can sign you up for tomorrow.
No, well, I think I'm far
Everybody is watching this
beyond
right
that now.
No, we have
But
we have a website, and it's very
so
easy
different
to join.
schools or different organizations?
Any
could become
individual can join. Schools can associate with us around the world. It's not difficult to join.
So would you have a number? How many schools are associated in Pakistan?
I can't give you that off the top of my head.
Okay, but you would say...
But in England we have about 10,000 schools.
Do you have like any kind of partnership with the governments as well, with the provincial governments or the federal government? Because in private schools, people, the children are still able to read and speak in English, but we believe in public sector it can be really helpful.
Well, yesterday we had a meeting with vice chancellors of a number of universities, and we had present there the director of education in Sindh. So I think there's interest in what we do from the state sector. For me, the state sector is the most important priority, because we need to help the people who are less advantaged. And I can see in Oxford, work in a very, very privileged university. One of our aims is to recruit much more broadly away from private schools. But I can see the kids that come from state schools in the north of the country, for instance, and they are terrified when they arrive. They really cannot project themselves in public. So that's the key target audience. But above that, anyone who learns how to debate, learns how to argue properly, to use evidence. In the world of social media, evidence is not much respected, and who can respectfully disagree with their opponent. Anyone who participates will gain in that way.
I think it is so important. We need that, you know, in this day
And very
and
important
age
है बात की
of
है,
social
in the
media
age of social
especially.
media, evidence is not much respected. So जो social media का
देखिए,
दौर है, इसमें शायद अगर कोई अगला आपको सबूत भी दे रहा हो, तो आप उसको वजन नहीं देखते,
हाँ, इस बात में बड़ी डेप्थ है कि आपको एक तरीका आना चाहिए कि किसी से डिसएग्री भी करना है, अगर आप नहीं मान भी रहे अगले की बात, तो उसको किस तरह आपने प्रेजेंट करना है, ये बड़ी चीज़ें हैं दैट मैटर. माइल्स यंग, थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
थैंक यू. अच्छा जी.